3, 2, 1.
We're going to do something different today. Like I said, Laura is a life coach as well as everything else. And
God, I'm tired. That makes me sound
I
very
know
tired.
you're very, yeah, I bet you are. And so I'm going to incorporate her and her ideas and her knowledge and wisdom into my talk today. And the title of my talk today is You're Welcome, because you are. The universe says you're welcome every day for every experience in your life that comes to you, because it's pleasure, the universe's pleasure, to bring you your experiences, good, bad, or indifferent. It's the universe's pleasure to bring it to you. Whether they're positive, whether they're negative, you were a magnet for that experience for whatever reason. And we don't have to go into the reasons. We don't have to go into if they're negative, sometimes there's a little shame, blame kind of stuff in there. We don't have to go into that. It's unimportant. The end result, or the flavor of the end result, comes through our beliefs, right? That's our teaching. Comes through our beliefs, and there's many ways to get to those beliefs. And we'll talk about a little bit about that today, but we talk about that every week. So when we look at everything in our life that way, that the universe is always saying, not only saying yes, but saying you're welcome. We can understand in a deeper way what to do about the happiness about something, what to do with the sadness about something, what to even do about the traumatic about something. Yeah, we have our feelings about it. We have our emotions about it. And like I jokingly say, after we spend, a couple of minutes on that, then it's time to move on to what we're going to do about it next, what our response is versus our reaction to it. It's also an answer from the universe, all of our experiences. It's an answer. You're welcome. You're welcome for the experience you have the consciousness to have. And for the power, you're welcome to the power that the universe has given to us, or God, or the divine, or spirit, whatever you want to call that power, that energy. You can call it whatever you want. You have the power to move through any psychological event, any emotional event, any learning tool event of the experiences we have, and step into the impetus of stepping up, if there's some stepping up that needs to happen. We can find and instigate, the universe is saying, you're welcome to find and instigate any needed adaptations or changes or transformations or transcendence that you need to take in thought and feeling and belief. You're welcome. You have the power. The universe is telling you that. You're welcome to this power. Have at it. That power is there for you to upgrade anything you need to upgrade in your thoughts, downgrade anything you need to downgrade, release, replace, whatever. And doing that, when we do that, when we actively use this power, that is a thank you. That is a gratitude to the universe, to the power that is actually within us anyway. It's not out there somewhere. It is also out there, but it is within us now. So this comes to my first question. Mm-hmm. So when someone comes to you for coaching, just like anyone would come to me for counseling, they're obviously ready to be healed in some shape or form. And they're ready to initiate some action, mm-hmm. which I presume you guide them towards, coach them towards.
Guide, coach.
Yeah.
All of it.
So what's your first step when somebody calls you and
The first step is to make sure you're actually, like, we talk a lot about vibration.
Yeah.
Are you the right vibration for each other? Because I'm not necessarily everybody's coach.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's actually probably the first thing, is to have a little sample consultation and just connect and see, do we connect? Am I going to be the best person? What I've just put on my, and it was told to me by a supervisor probably when I was trying too hard in my exams and stuff, like being an adult child and alcoholic, being naturally codependent and wanting to fix everything.
Yeah.
You have to unlearn that. And he said, your job is to know and grow human beings. And that's not unlike your job, to know them. So that's one of the reasons we ask them to please commit to at least a 3 or 4 month, hopefully they stay longer, or maybe they don't need to. That's fine too. But to know and grow them. So am I the person that they will let in? Am I the right vibe for them? Are they for me? I learned quickly that it's like, at first I was going to coach anything with a pulse. And then I realized that that's not doing me or them a service. So that's the first thing. And then we send them actually a really in-depth, using all the brains that you talk about. Like, you must be a Greg Braden fan, right?
I like Greg.
Yeah.
Greg Braden,
There's also apparently information in the spine. Like there's like 4 places you can access information. And these 21 questions we get instantly intimate with them. We ask them things that you have no right asking them. And then that also tells you, are they ready for this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are they really ready? Are you ready to answer that with a lot of honesty and candor and vulnerability? And then we launch into the foundation building, which is a lot of first. The first step is, all right, so rewind. If there really is a first step, it's getting really clear the distinction between the angel and devilly voices and every other frequency, but the main frequencies of that higher divine source energy that you can listen to and tune into, and the other one that's never leaving, that's a part of us, and actually also has really powerful information. If you're listening for it, right,
okay.
You know all this.
Yeah.
That's the first thing people have to be aware of. You are not that voice. That voice is a part of you, but you can pull it out and listen to it with an open heart and curiosity. And is it bullshit? Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I just started to. Is it bullshit? And you're willing to finally own, like, God, I'm just going to let this one go, Because you know what? That voice, that part of us, will find something to fill the vacuum.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Or is there something really here to look at? Like, I'll give you a great example. One of my long-term clients was kind of just beating herself up in a particular session about a lot of things she didn't feel great about. And so we did that sort of on a scale of 1 to 10, be honest. How real is this? You're not enough for what,
Right.
or those ones that really beat us up.
Yeah.
You're not smart enough. You're not. There was one though, that we went, let's take this one out, which was, I need to be more disciplined with my kids. She's a single mom with 2 boys. She was like, I feel like I'm just letting my kids run the show and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, let's see what can actually be action oriented. What are you going to start doing differently or stop doing to have this be feeling different for you? So there's not one, there's a series of sort of like weaving stuff together. You do goals, you do the foundation of goals and habits, commitments. And I'll tell you another actually really powerful thing I always do in the first session once they sign up is something we call values stringing. So you reconnect them. You connect them with values maybe they didn't even realize they had. So how can you honor something you're not even on? It's not on your radar. And also to be reminded of them. But it's fascinating when you have, say, you and I both value nature.
Okay.
You take nature, you underline it, and then you put a slash. And what words, feelings, thoughts, images come to your mind when you feel like, wow, this is what hooks me up to why I need to get out in nature? Could be 5 different words for me.
Yeah.
So that's why and grow that person through, like I had 2 or 3 guys that had golf as a value, which I was like, okay, show me. At first, my own saboteur was like, golf, come on, people. And then they showed me, they taught me. Remember I said earlier to you how much you learn from the people you're working with?
The people.
I thought, oh my God, this is very particular. So I started looking for very particular values to people instead of the ones, which we share a lot of values. So one of the guys had golf / nature / I'm just giving the vibe of it.
Right.
Friends, green, exercise, breath, right? Wow, really important, right, for that person.
Yeah.
Connection or something. The other guy had golf, business, deals, money, security, family. And I thought, oh, wow. So really powerful to see that not only can golf be a value, but it can be for two entirely different reasons.
Wow.
And so for me, it was important to have that on my radar to say, wow, dude, have you played golf this week? Because you're really in a shitty space right now. Maybe you need to go out and honor that value, that particular value.
Yeah.
And it's also a chance. Okay, so can I skip to one other question because it feels like it's a good one?
You can
About if somebody, you had a question on there about if someone comes to you, if they're leaving something, not because they don't love the job.
that was the last question, but that's
Is that going to screw you up?
No, not at all.
Because I feel like that's values driven. That decision to leave is that the first thing to say about that is if I have many clients in relationships that they want to leave, jobs they want to leave.
Right.
The first place we look as coaches is what part are you playing in why you want to leave? Are you a victim of this? Is somebody making you? So it said for lack of remuneration or respect. Well, you're telegraphing how you should be treated, or you're not.
Right.
So if it's lack of respect, the first thing I would challenge them is to, okay, so what are you going to do to shift how you're seen? I have one client right now working on it. She doesn't use her voice. She has great ideas. People don't even know her or what she would have to offer because she's afraid that if she says, by the way, the thing that needs to be said.
Yeah.
She is the one. And okay, remind me that I actually something channeled through and I landed something with her that made her really be willing to do it.
Okay.
Which is, so if you're not showing up, same in a relationship. Is someone breaking up with you? Are they really breaking up with you? Do they know you? Have you shown up? Or is your saboteur bending themselves into Gumby-like positions to please this person and they leave you anyway? You might as well show up. And have them really break up with you as your coach. I would rather them break up with the real so-and-so. Please stood up.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, you're not for me. Awesome. Thank you for letting me know. And then you can move on. Actually, on the way here, I was thinking about your questions.
Right.
And I'm going to do a blog or a video that's called, are you leaving with your tail between your legs or because it's just not yours? It's not for you. Because leaving in that, like, oh, I'm not being remunerated. Oh, I'm not being respected is so victim bullshit.
Yeah.
If you're a coach and you're not calling them out, you shouldn't be a coach. The first thing is, what is your responsibility?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Well, how are you colluding with your boss to keep you small?
Yeah, no, that's so perfect because I talk about responsibility all the time because I want people to differentiate the shame, blame, guilt crap with taking responsibility and that they don't live together.
No.
This is a whole other house.
Well, that's your that's also the saboteur, the shame, blame, guilt is that voice, right?
Yeah.
It's making up a lot of shit that it's not even tested out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's writing storylines for people and people are like, I guess this is my story. And they're running down that road, not even taking the pulse of the possibility that your boss actually would be really inspired and grateful for that thought that you didn't share because you assumed it might be stupid.
Yeah, or it might be stupid. The reason I brought...
Or it might be whatever. They might not agree with you.
Right. Another reason I brought up that last question was because I am reading so much about people because of lockdown or inspired.
The Great Resignation.
Yeah, the Great Resignation.
Yeah, it's a big
and, not even if they're ready to look for a new job, they don't go to this industry anymore because that industry doesn't pay well, naturally doesn't pay well for whatever reason. That doesn't matter. And that's mostly what I was talking about.
That's a wave of, that's a cultural tectonic plate shifting of what people have been getting away with and what people have been tolerating. What the people in, say, the service industry have been getting away with and what the people in it have been tolerating. So we'll see that's naturally going to change because nobody wants to work there. So they're going to be forced to look at their lack of remuneration, right?
Or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Usually
like,
the biggest
that's
thing,
a little different than saying, like, for example, I'm leaving this job because my boss doesn't listen. But like I said, are you giving her your ideas? This person's not showing up. They're showing up at maybe 50% and then wondering why they're not having the impact they want to have.
Right.
How about if you showed up at 60%? Notice what's different. So she started practicing this a couple of times. Let me give you an example. A baby died. She works in a hospital and she's an administrator. So she has to deal with all the cleanup of messes that happen.
Yeah.
So they're in a meeting after this week long of COVID cases being, she's just so stressful, right? Yeah. One thing happened that traumatized the whole staff, which is this perfectly full-term baby that was fine except for an hour before it was actually all the way out, and it died. And all these people were traumatized. She goes to the next day debrief about what's going on in the hospital, and nobody is talking about that. Nobody brings that up. It's in the room. It's the old proverbial pink elephant.
Right.
The energy of what we call in coaching is the level 3, which is level 1 is I'm talking to you. You're thinking only about what you're going to say back to me. That's level 1. You go to parties and you're like, this party sucks. And it's because everyone's in level 1 talking about themselves. And level 2 is very curious, open, asking a question about your trip to Barbados. Not like, when I went to Barbados.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And it just sucks the energy out of the room, right? However, you need level 1 for your intuition. So it's not all bad. But level 2 is very connected over here. And level 3 is the space. It's the global listening to a space. You walk into a business meeting, it's popping with great ideas, or you can't wait to get out. A party, someone's house, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, why am I telling you about this?
Well,
because the level 3 was so sad and heavy. And nobody was talking about it. And she said, well, I said something. And you could feel it shift because it needed to be said. So she risked having it land like a lead balloon or do what it did. And you know what? As a coach, I don't care what it does. My job is to have her be willing to say it. Doesn't matter how it lands.
Right.
Her growth, her edge is to be willing to say it and risk it landing like a lead balloon. It's still feeling it's important to say.
Right.
Anyway, she shifted the space. And when we dug under a little bit, I said, what about if that's actually your job? That's why no one else is saying it.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to say it.
She's the leader.
And she was like,
she's the guy.
All of a sudden it was like, oh my God, and if you don't do it, you're letting all those people down. You're not doing your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really powerful.
That is, because she's the administrator. She's not just administrating the business of the hospital, but the business of her employees, which hopefully is a family of sorts.
Yeah. And she's not the only administrator too. So that other person didn't say it and that other person didn't say it, but that's your thing to say. That was dropped in. Like when you're when you do this, there's no way you're not channeling. I know you have notes, but you're channeling. I remember seeing Marianne Williamson.
That's why notes that should take 12, 15 minutes turns
45
into 20
minutes. Exactly.
Or longer if I'm not careful.
Yeah. So when you're doing that, it's kind of like, it's like my songs. I don't know where those come from. Who wrote that? The Beatles said it. Paul Lennon. That's probably more apt.
That's right.
John McCartney and Paul Lennon. They were so in them.
So many years,
but Paul said, those songs are floating in the ethers. Anyone can grab them down. I just got them first. Or they came through me. I became open to receiving them first. It's miraculous. So that's the same thing as when that idea pops in, when that thought comes, that's magical.
Yeah.
Don't piss on it.
Yeah.
Don't, like you said, say thank you, you're welcome, and express it and be willing to fail at it. That's fine too.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's fine too.
Yes.
So anyway.
We all use the same 88 key.
Yeah, that's right.
Last week I was talking about Jack Ma. I brought Jack Ma up. Jack Ma is the guy who created or is the instigator of, I forgot the company, of
some big corporate.
The Chinese Amazon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't know him, but okay. Got it.
So it's just went right out of my head, the name of that company. It'll come to me later. Huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know how to do that. He had no interest in putting a business plan together, but somehow through all these things, he was able to raise money and bring people together. And I was looking, and I've spoken about these people in other talks in other ways, but Colonel Sanders with
I use him all the time.
999 people said take a hike.
I thought it was 1,800 or something
like that.
big.
And then the 1,000th person said,
sure,
I'll use your recipe. And then, boom.
Great. It's so good.
James Dyson and the vacuum cleaner.
Totally.
The first one that was sold was like number 5 or something because the other 4 experiments were a failure.
Well, Edison, what did he say? He said, I looked at his 1,800 steps to electricity, not 1,800 failures or however many experiments
yes,
he did.
He doesn't use the term.
It was that many steps to it actually working.
And Sarah Blankley with Spanx, you heard her story? You can hear her story on, there's what is that NPR show where they talk about it, how the company started, how I built this,
that's
something like
great.
Oh, great
Was it?
story about her.
How she
And
got
was a
spanked.
marketing person,
Yeah.
and which helped her in the end, but she didn't really know how to start a company or anything.
Is that leading to that question?
And yeah, it's
Yeah.
leading to another question. Howard Schultz with Starbucks. These two guys, Brian Chesky and a couple of his friends, couldn't afford their rent. So they thought, well, we'll get a roommate, but we don't want a roommate all the time. Let's get temporary roommates. And that's how Airbnb started.
Oh my God, brilliant.
By this idea of doing that. And then they thought, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, so good.
And then the last one, and there's other examples that I have, but the last one I want to talk about was Chris Carr. Have you heard of Chris Carr?
No.
Okay, Chris Carr is a successful author and health coach.
Okay.
She became that. That was not necessarily her intention in life, but she got a cancer diagnosis. And she decided to heal herself through various natural modalities, and indeed did so. And then she decided she wanted to teach people that, and that has turned into a whole huge industry for her. She's got a radio show and several podcasts, and of course, like I said, writes books. Howard Schultz, and then I'll get to this question. Howard Schultz is the guy who pretty much made Starbucks what it was.
Yeah.
He said, I believe life is a series of near misses. A lot of what we ascribe to luck is not luck at all. It's seizing the day and accepting responsibility for your future. It's seeing what other people don't see and pursuing your vision.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, how do you temper your clients thinking, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to do. I just don't know. I just know I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know what's next.
Or they do have a vision, you said in there.
They do a vision. They might only possess a vision.
Yeah.
I know I don't want to do this, but I want to get into that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that means.
Yeah, no idea how to do it. Yeah. Great. I had a client with that yesterday. That's perfect.
Oh.
So I have a client who I've had many years, who's a teacher, an educator, special ed in the state of Vermont, and they're all going back to school, and she has health issues herself and does not want to go back and teach in person, right? So she's struggling with all that stuff, and she's struggling. She is like a normal, what did I say? I said, you're like a rabble rouser in it, or there was a better analogy for it, but you're in the wrong system. You're in a dead system. You're a firecracker in a pond.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
In a murky pond. Yeah. It's an old patriarchal, this is how we do it. There's no room for your new brilliant ideas that would maybe make it better, but we don't, because we don't want to change, right? Yeah. And she is so miserable in that petri dish that yesterday she came. She talked to a friend who also quit. She's still teaching, but her friend said, I'm not doing it anymore. Quit her teaching job. And they were brainstorming like, wow, we have these ideas. And what if the vision, they were starting to build that vision for what's missing, close the gaps, right? In leadership, in my leadership training, they talk about like, what's the gap your business or your services are going to close for people.
Oh, right.
And so she and her friend were really getting it all juiced up. Now, that can just be a nice conversation that got all juiced up and then nothing happens. And that's where coach goes, pluck. So she said, we came with this idea of what if we called it out of the box, reimagining education? And I said, write that down. That's brilliant. That's the name of your book, your podcast, your TED Talk. That's the name of the movement. That's the new Waldorf school. That's what, take all your brilliant wisdom, the two of you, and go steal other people's shit. Go look at, like, she goes, yeah, like Norway and Sweden. And then I said, yes, go pull what you like from that. Pull what you like. Weave. So what you do, by the way, you don't temper that. You have them go headlong into their, there are 4 phases of something new that we get taught early on. And it's so powerful. You're supposed to be, when you start something, you're unconsciously incompetent at it, right? You know this, right?
I know this
so
thing.
Of course you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're not supposed to, or you wouldn't be stupid enough to say, I'm going to start a school.
Like driving.
Yeah. Then you become consciously incompetent and your saboteur starts to run amok even more because I know what I don't know now. And that's when they're in the, how do you temper it phase? You go, great. You know what you don't know. Now you set about learning those things. You're in the information gathering stage.
Yes.
That's where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
You're not supposed to know how it's going to happen. That's down there.
Yeah.
You're at this part of the road.
Yeah.
And then you go into your consciously competent, and that's kind of feeling good. Like I kind of feel like with me as a coach, before I would pick up the phone, because it's all done on the phone, I went through those phases, as you might know. Just to say you're going to be a coach, you're like, who the hell do I think your saboteur's on fire? And then you're like, okay, now I know what I don't know, and now I'm really freaking out. How am I going to do this? And then one day you pick up the phone and you're like, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Like I can do this. And then the best place is when you're unconsciously competent and you really aren't. You're up here completely masterful, unconsciously competent. You do this in your sleep. It's not like you're worried that you're going to deliver something.
Right.
You're gonna. Right. To me as a songwriter, I get up here. I know it might be this way or this way, but it's in a zone.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
masterful. It's in a zone. I don't have to worry about it. Right.
Yeah.
So the key to that is to say, yay, you're feeling totally incompetent and stupid. Awesome. Full permission to be right there.
Yeah.
You're not trying to talk them out of it. You're trying to say, lean into it. And then now what's the information you need to go get to feel like you're moving up a little bit and up a little bit and up a little
Or
bit.
the people, the allies.
And hold that vision, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So her other homework was get together with your friend, write shared value strings. Do you feel like you're on the same page with what you want to create? What's your vision and your mission statement for what gap you're closing and how you guys are both going to stay anchored to it when it gets hard? Because it's going to get hard. It's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah, people will say no,
and all it might
won't give you money.
Exactly. But also, it's usually not as hard as people think, which is that other trick of the saboteur. It has you convinced, like, oh, forget it before you even start. And you find out, oh, that conversation that I have had so many clients, you guys, build up in their minds that this is going to be a confrontation, this thing they have to deliver, this information or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm curious, maybe it will be, but what if that's an assumption your saboteur is making for you and it's just going to be a conversation or a communication? Does it have to be a confrontation? Does it? And I don't think it's ever actually been. I'm going to go so far as to say unilaterally things have been built into these scary things. They come back and they go, it was like, meh. And the weight that is lifted is just monumental. Yeah. I've done a lot of people writing letters to people because they get, and this is fine too. So if you're not sure you're going to get thrown off by that person, you write it beautiful, exactly how you want it.
Or whatever.
Exactly. And then they get to be with it and there's no interrupting or no, it's so clear. And it's so far, I think 4 or 5 clients have done it to children, grown children, several grown children and 1 sibling. And it's really been powerful for them. It is them beginning to test this theory of using my voice this way first. It's sort of a gateway drug. Yes.
Oh, they do send
Oh,
it?
they do.
Oh,
yeah. Actually, one
that.
didn't. 1 out of the 4 didn't send it, but it helped her have the conversation. She then was able to have the conversation because she had written it all down so clearly for herself. And then she had a really lovely, open-hearted conversation with him. And I said, I think now you should send it anyway, because as your son, I got to read the letter. I was like, if my parent had read, I would have saved this for the rest of my life. It was filled with so much wisdom. It was about how he was raising his little baby and how his wife, it was very, let me try and, we don't want to steal each other's experience unless we do. And in this instance, she was like, I am you. You are so much like me. And let me just at least impart to you some things I'm seeing that you might want to take a look at. How your dynamic.
That I've taken a look at later
with
in
your
my
wife
life.
and what's starting to be, and how you're dealing with this child who's running the show.
Right. One more question.
Yeah.
I had this thing I was going to talk about nature, about being grateful for just the basic things in life.
Yeah.
It's breathing, for hearing.
So good, Jay.
Seeing, and I wrote in here, even if a person is deaf and doesn't hear the sounds we all hear, they learn vibrations, and that there's an experiential connection to those vibrations that most of us hearing don't get to experience because we're all into the quote unquote sound.
Yeah.
And nature, et cetera, et cetera. Do you ever need to step people back and go, okay, remember you have a heart that is beating and a breath that keeps going.
You do it for yourself first, right? Because we all get thrown off. I'll tell you, on the way here, I was thinking about that question too. And I thought, Breath. I don't know for sure, but both my wife and I were very sick. January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, we started getting sick just before the COVID thing was discovered in February, March.
Oh.
I mean, bad,
Okay.
bad, like sicker than we've ever been, to the point where I could not breathe. After I was sort of not as sick, I still had whatever that leftover. I had to go get tests about why can't I get a full breath? Why can't I feel satisfied breathing? So I'm telling you now, that has never left me since, and it never will. Just being able to breathe is something I do not take for granted anymore. Not that I feel like I did, because I think as a Piscean, I don't know if you guys believe in all that, but I think I came in just sort of like, oh God, I got to do this again. All right. And and also grateful for just this particular incarnation. I don't take lightly that, all of us here, if you have a bank account with anything in it, if you even have a checking account and you have a laptop, you're in the top 5% of the richest people in the world, maybe 10.
Oh, in the world.
In the world. There are
world,
so many
absolutely.
third world. There are so many people that couldn't even comprehend having technology or the luxury of a checking account. I mean, when I heard that statistic, I just thought, wow. So here's what I'll say about that too, that really anchors people back. Normally, you would say the saboteur wants you to compare yourself. Don't do that comparing and competing thing like they talk about. But I'm going to say, unless again, it's useful. So I had 2 friends pass away this year. I watched them suffer so much. I'm comparing. Anytime I went down the pity pot, my wife and I would go, okay, for today, knock on wood, neither of us is dying of cancer. Neither of us, we don't think we have it. So let's just know that if you get out of bed and you're healthy, what else do you need? If you don't have that physical health and that well-being, none of the other stuff matters. We know that. None of the other stuff matters. So yes, compare yourself sometimes. And look at that homeless person and go, wow, okay, geez, I have everything I need. That is a great, great leveler. It truly is, to be comparing yourself to whomever it is that has less than you and say, wow, these are such first world or luxury problems that I am bitching about right now.
Especially when you're in a pity party.
Oh yeah. So it is a great reminder to do stuff like that.
Thank you
All right,
so
my
much.
darling. Do you need me to leave while you wrap it up?
Well, I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah.
And then I think I'm coming
And then
back.
she's going to come back. So let me wrap this up really quickly, because the biggest point of this is to remember that the universe, I say it all the time, the universe always says yes. It's part of this philosophy, this teaching. The universe always says yes. And sometimes in our experience, we don't particularly like that yes, but we know we're responsible in our consciousness for that, what that yes brought. And the great thing about that is that we know we can change what we need to change, whether it's thought, feeling, imagination, belief, consciousness, being more aware and awake, so that yes changes into what it is we really have decided to bring into our lives. So yes, the universe says you're welcome. You're welcome for life. You're welcome for living. You're welcome to have more. You're welcome for the power that you have to have more, to believe in more, to work with a life coach, to work with a counselor, to work with whoever, but especially yourself, in bringing the most to your life and as much as you can have, because the universe is full of infinite opportunities that we just have to grab onto. So I'm going to end myself right there, end this talk right there, end myself from talking for a few moments. And